What if I told you that everything you want, money, peace, love, success, is not somewhere out there waiting for you to chase it? It's already within reach, but only if you change 8 simple things about how you think and how you act. Most people spend their whole lives working hard, yet still feel stuck, still feel like something is missing. Not because they don't deserve more, but because no one ever taught them these 8 truths. Stay with me till the end, because by the time this video is over, you will know exactly what separates people who struggle their whole life from people who seem to get everything they want, with less stress and more peace. Let's start with the first truth, and it might surprise you, because it has nothing to do with working harder. It has to do with knowing exactly what you want. Most people go through life with vague desires. They say, I want to be happy, or I want more money, or I want a better life. But vague desires create vague results. The universe, your mind, your actions, they all respond to clarity, not confusion. Think about it this way. If you asked a taxi driver to just drive somewhere nice, you'd end up going in circles, wasting time and fuel, arriving nowhere meaningful. But if you gave a clear address, the driver takes you there directly, without hesitation. Your mind works the exact same way. When you don't know exactly what you want, your energy, your focus, your daily choices, all become scattered, pulling you in different directions instead of moving you forward. So the first step toward getting everything you want is getting brutally specific. Not I want more money, but I want to earn enough to comfortably support my family and save for the future. Not I want a better relationship, but I want a relationship built on respect, honesty, and real emotional connection. The more specific your desire, the more your mind can create a clear path toward it. Here's something most people miss. Specificity isn't just about goals. It's about identity. When you know exactly what you want, you naturally start becoming the type of person who already has it. If you want financial freedom, you start making decisions like someone who values long-term stability instead of short-term pleasure. If you want a peaceful life, you start removing chaos and drama from your daily choices. Clarity doesn't just guide your goals, it reshapes your everyday behavior. Many people fear being specific because they're afraid of disappointment. If they don't clearly define what they want, they think they can't clearly fail at getting it either. But this thinking keeps people stuck in a comfortable fog, never moving forward, never truly living. Real growth requires the courage to say clearly, this is what I want. Even if it feels vulnerable, take a moment right now. Think about one area of your life, career, relationships, health, peace of mind, and ask yourself, what do I actually want here, specifically? Not what sounds good to say to others, but what genuinely feels true and important to you. This single shift, moving from vague wishes to crystal clear intentions, is often the very first step that separates people who drift through life from people who deliberately design it. And once you have this clarity, the next truth becomes even more powerful because it determines whether that clear vision actually turns into reality or stays just another idea in your head. Now that you know exactly what you want, the next truth is this: you must genuinely believe you deserve it, because no amount of clarity will help if deep down, part of you doesn't feel worthy of receiving it. This is where most people quietly sabotage themselves without even realizing it. They say they want success, but deep inside, they believe success is only for certain lucky people. They say they want love, but deep inside, they believe they're too damaged or too difficult to be truly loved. They say they want abundance, but deep inside, they carry old beliefs that money is hard to get, or that wanting more makes them greedy. These hidden beliefs act like an invisible ceiling, quietly blocking the very things they claim to want. Here's the tricky part. Most of these beliefs weren't created by you as an adult. They were absorbed as a child, from parents, from teachers, from painful experiences, from comparing yourself to others. Maybe you were told money doesn't grow on trees, and it planted a seed of scarcity. Maybe you were criticized often, and it planted a seed of not being good enough. These early beliefs settle quietly into your subconscious mind, running your life in the background, even decades later. The good news is, beliefs can be rebuilt, no matter how old they are. It starts with awareness. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. When you think about your goal, do you feel expansive and hopeful, or do you feel tight and doubtful? That doubtful feeling is often a signal of a hidden limiting belief working against you. Once you notice it, challenge it directly. Ask yourself, is this belief actually true, or is it just something I absorbed a long time ago? Often, when examined honestly, these beliefs fall apart under simple logical questioning. You start realizing that many successful, happy people started with far less than you, yet they built the life they wanted because they refused to accept limiting beliefs as permanent truths. Replacing old beliefs also requires repetition. Just like the limiting belief was reinforced over years, the new empowering belief needs consistent reinforcement too. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply love and believe in. Remind yourself daily, I am capable, I am deserving, I am allowed to have good things in my life. This isn't arrogance, it's necessary reprogramming. Remember, external success can only rise to the level of your internal belief. No matter how many opportunities appear, if you don't believe you deserve them, you will unconsciously push them away, delay them, or sabotage them without even realizing why. Once your beliefs align with your desires, the next truth becomes essential because it determines how consistently you show up, even when motivation fades and life gets difficult. The third truth is this: discipline matters far more than motivation, because motivation is unreliable, but discipline never abandons you. Most people wait to feel motivated before taking action. They wait for inspiration to strike, for energy to feel high, for the perfect mood to begin working toward their goals. But here's the problem. Motivation is like weather. It comes and goes unpredictably. If you build your entire life around chasing motivation, you'll constantly stop and start, making very little real progress over time. Discipline works completely differently. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. It simply asks, what needs to be done today, and does it regardless of mood, energy, or circumstance. This is exactly why disciplined people, even those with average motivation, often outperform highly motivated people who lack consistency. Discipline builds momentum. Momentum builds results, and results eventually create the very motivation people were originally waiting for. Here's an important shift in mindset. Stop waiting to feel ready. Readiness is often a myth people use to avoid starting. Instead, commit to small, consistent actions, even on days when you don't feel like it. If your goal is better health, discipline means moving your body even on tired days. If your goal is financial growth, discipline means managing your money wisely, even when spending feels more exciting. If your goal is inner peace, discipline means choosing calm responses, even when emotions push you toward reacting impulsively. Small, consistent actions compound over time, far more powerfully than occasional bursts of intense effort. Someone who exercises moderately every single day will often surpass someone who works out intensely once a week, but skips the rest. The same applies to building wealth, building relationships, building peace of mind, and building any meaningful part of your life. Discipline also protects you during difficult seasons of life. Motivation disappears easily during stress, sadness, or uncertainty. But discipline, especially when built as a habit rather than a feeling, continues functioning even when your emotions are struggling. This is why the most successful, peaceful people you see aren't necessarily the most talented or the most motivated, they are simply the most consistent. Start small. Choose one habit that supports your biggest goal, and commit to doing it daily, regardless of how you feel. Over weeks and months, this single disciplined habit will build a foundation stronger than any short burst of motivation ever could. Once discipline becomes part of your daily life, the next truth becomes crucial because it determines how you handle the moments when things don't go according to plan. The fourth truth is this: how you respond to setbacks matters far more than the setbacks themselves, because life will never be free of obstacles, but your reaction to them shapes your entire future. Most people treat failure as proof that they should quit. A business idea fails, and they conclude they aren't cut out for entrepreneurship. A relationship ends painfully, and they conclude they're unlovable. A goal takes longer than expected, and they conclude it was never meant to happen. But here's the truth that successful, peaceful people understand deeply. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process that leads to success. Think about anyone you admire, in business, in relationships, in personal growth. Almost every single one of them faced repeated failures before finding what worked. The difference between them and people who stay stuck isn't the absence of failure, it's how they interpreted it. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? They asked, what is this teaching me, and how do I adjust? This simple shift in questioning transforms failure from a dead end into a stepping stone. Here's something important to understand. Setbacks often contain valuable information you couldn't have learned any other way. A failed relationship teaches you what you truly need in a partner. A failed business attempt teaches you what mistakes to avoid next time. A missed opportunity teaches you patience or better timing. If you rush past failure without reflecting on it, you lose the very lessons that would have made your next attempt stronger. It's also important to separate your identity from your setbacks. Failing at something doesn't make you a failure. It simply means one specific attempt didn't work out as planned. Many people mistakenly attach their entire self-worth to individual outcomes, and this creates unnecessary suffering. This mindset alone can dramatically reduce anxiety and fear around trying new things. Resilience isn't about never falling down. It's about how quickly and wisely you get back up. Every time you choose to learn from a setback instead of collapsing under it, you build emotional strength that carries into every other area of your life. Over time, this resilience becomes one of your greatest assets, more valuable than talent, luck, or even intelligence. Remember, the people who eventually get everything they want in life aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who never allow failure to become their final story. Once you master how to handle setbacks with wisdom instead of despair, the next truth becomes essential, because it shapes how you manage one of life's most limited and valuable resources. The fifth truth is this: you must learn to protect and prioritize your time and energy, because both are limited resources, and how you spend them determines the entire direction of your life. Most people unconsciously give their best time and energy to things that don't truly matter. Endless scrolling on their phones, pointless arguments, gossip, worry about things they can't control, or pleasing people who don't even appreciate the effort. Meanwhile, the things that actually build the life they want, personal growth, meaningful work, real relationships, rest and recovery, get pushed aside as something to do later. Over time, this imbalance quietly drains years of potential progress. Here's an important truth to understand. You will always find time for what you truly prioritize. If someone says they don't have time to exercise, but they spend hours scrolling social media daily, the issue isn't time, it's priority. If someone says they don't have time to work on their goals, but they spend hours complaining about their situation instead, the issue isn't time, it's focus. Being honest with yourself about where your time actually goes is one of the most powerful awakenings you can experience. Protecting your energy is just as important as protecting your time. Certain people, environments, and habits quietly drain your energy, leaving you exhausted and unmotivated, even if you haven't done much physically. Constant negativity, toxic relationships, unnecessary drama, all of these slowly chip away at your inner strength. Learning to recognize and limit these energy leaks allows you to redirect that same energy toward things that actually move your life forward. It's also important to build boundaries without guilt. Saying no to things that don't align with your goals or values isn't selfish, it's necessary. Many people say yes to everything out of fear of disappointing others, but this constant people-pleasing quietly steals the time and energy you need for your own growth and peace. Learning to say no with confidence is one of the most freeing skills you can develop. Additionally, rest should never be seen as laziness. True productivity requires recovery. Just like a phone needs to be recharged to function properly, your mind and body need proper rest to perform at their best. Constantly pushing yourself without recovery leads to burnout, not success. Balancing effort with genuine rest allows you to sustain progress long-term, instead of crashing after short bursts of intensity. When you finally start protecting your time and energy the way you protect something valuable, your entire life naturally becomes more focused, productive, and peaceful. Once you master this, the next truth becomes crucial because it reveals how your inner emotional state directly shapes the outer results you experience in life. The sixth truth is this: your inner emotional state shapes your outer results far more than most people realize, because how you feel on the inside directly influences the choices, actions, opportunities you attract on the outside. Think about times when you felt anxious, frustrated, or overwhelmed. In those moments, did you make your best decisions? Probably not. Stress narrows your thinking, making you reactive instead of thoughtful. Fear pushes you toward hasty choices instead of wise ones. Anger clouds your judgment, often creating problems instead of solving them. This is why emotional regulation isn't just about feeling better. It's about making better decisions that shape your entire future. On the other hand, think about times when you felt calm, confident, and clear-headed. In those moments, you likely noticed opportunities you would have otherwise missed. You communicated more effectively. You made decisions aligned with your long-term goals instead of short-term impulses. This isn't coincidence. A calm, balanced emotional state allows your mind to think clearly, see options more broadly, and respond wisely instead of reacting emotionally. Here's something important to understand. You cannot completely control what happens to you in life. Unexpected challenges, other people's actions, unpredictable circumstances. But you can control how you respond internally to those events. This single skill, managing your inner state regardless of outer chaos, is one of the most powerful abilities a person can develop. Simple daily practices can dramatically improve your emotional stability. Deep breathing during stressful moments activates calmness in your nervous system. Journaling helps release built-up emotions instead of letting them control your reactions. Regular movement, even a short walk, helps regulate stress hormones naturally. Limiting exposure to constant negativity, whether through news, social media, or toxic conversations, protects your emotional environment just as much as physical boundaries protect your time. It's also essential to stop suppressing emotions and instead learn to process them. Many people believe staying strong means ignoring pain, sadness, or frustration. But suppressed emotions don't disappear. They resurface later, often in more damaging ways, through stress, anger, or even physical illness. True emotional strength comes from feeling your emotions fully, understanding them, and then choosing your response wisely, rather than letting them control you unconsciously. When you master your inner emotional world, external chaos loses its power over you. You become someone who can remain calm in a storm, think clearly under pressure, and make decisions that lead you toward the life you actually want, rather than reacting impulsively to whatever life throws at you. Once your emotional foundation becomes stable, the next truth becomes essential, because it reveals the powerful role your daily habits and surroundings play in shaping your future. The seventh truth is this: your daily habits and environment shape your future far more powerfully than any single big decision you'll ever make. Most people believe massive change requires massive action, a dramatic life overhaul, a sudden burst of willpower, a complete transformation overnight. But real, lasting change almost never happens this way. It happens through small, repeated actions that quietly compound over time. A single healthy meal won't transform your body, but consistent healthy choices every day eventually will. A single positive conversation won't fix a relationship, but consistent, honest communication over time absolutely will. Small habits, repeated daily, become the architecture of your entire future. This is why identifying and adjusting your daily habits is one of the most powerful things you can do. Look closely at your typical day. What do you do first thing in the morning? How do you spend your free time? What do you consume mentally? Through conversations, media, or your own inner thoughts? These small repeated patterns are quietly building the person you are becoming, whether you're consciously aware of it or not. Equally important is your environment, the people you surround yourself with, the spaces you spend time in, the information you regularly consume. Human beings are deeply influenced by their surroundings, often more than they realize. If you spend most of your time around negative, unmotivated people, their energy and mindset will quietly influence you, even if you don't intend for it to happen. But if you surround yourself with people who inspire growth, positivity, and ambition, you naturally rise to match that energy over time. Here's something powerful to remember. You don't need to wait for the perfect moment to start building better habits or choosing a better environment. Every single day offers a new opportunity to make slightly better choices than the day before. Small improvements, consistently repeated, eventually create massive transformation, even if the day-to-day changes feel invisible in the moment. It's also important to regularly evaluate your habits and environment, because what worked for you in the past might not serve your future growth. As you evolve, some habits may need upgrading, and some relationships or environments that once felt comfortable might start feeling limiting. This isn't ungratefulness, it's natural growth, requiring you to continuously align your daily life with the person you're becoming, not just the person you used to be. When you take full ownership of your daily habits and consciously choose your environment, you essentially become the architect of your own future, rather than leaving it to chance or unconscious patterns. Once your habits and environment align with your goals, the final truth becomes the most important one of all, because it ties everything together into lasting peace and fulfillment. The eighth and final truth is this: genuine inner peace matters more than any external achievement, because without peace, even the greatest success will feel empty, but with peace, even an ordinary life feels deeply fulfilling. Many people chase success believing it will finally bring them peace, more money, more recognition, more achievements, thinking happiness will follow once they arrive. But countless people who reach great heights of success still struggle internally, because peace was never something to chase externally. It was something to build internally, first. Peace comes from alignment, when your daily actions, your relationships, and your inner beliefs all match who you truly are, rather than who you think you should be to impress others. A person living authentically, even with modest success, often feels more peaceful than someone who achieved great wealth while betraying their own values along the way. This is why self-awareness matters so deeply. Understanding your true values, your true needs, and your true boundaries allows you to build a life that feels genuinely yours, instead of one built entirely around comparison to others. Peace rarely comes from having more than someone else. It comes from feeling settled and honest within your own life, regardless of what anyone else has or thinks. Gratitude also plays a powerful role in cultivating peace. Many people delay happiness, believing they'll feel content once they reach the next goal, the next milestone, the next achievement. But peace built entirely on future outcomes is fragile and temporary. Practicing gratitude for what you already have, even while working toward more, creates a steady, lasting sense of contentment that doesn't collapse the moment circumstances change. Letting go is another essential part of peace. Holding on to old resentments, past mistakes, or things beyond your control quietly drains your energy and clouds your ability to enjoy the present moment. True peace requires releasing what you cannot change, while focusing your energy fully on what you can influence today. Ultimately, everything you've learned so far, clarity, belief, discipline, resilience, protecting your time and energy, emotional mastery, and intentional habits, all builds toward this final, most important truth. Success without peace is empty, but peace combined with purposeful action creates a life that feels both successful and deeply fulfilling. Now let's slow down for a moment, because understanding these truths is only the beginning. Real transformation happens when you start applying them, not perfectly, but consistently, in your everyday life. Many people read or hear wisdom like this and feel inspired for a day, maybe two, and then slowly slide back into old patterns. This isn't because the wisdom was wrong. It's because change requires repetition, not just understanding. Knowing that clarity matters doesn't automatically create clarity in your life. Knowing that discipline matters doesn't automatically build discipline into your daily routine. You have to actively practice these truths again and again until they become part of who you are, not just ideas you once heard. Start small. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight based on everything you've just learned. Instead, pick one truth that resonated with you the most. Maybe it was getting clear on what you want. Maybe it was protecting your energy. Maybe it was learning to handle setbacks with wisdom. And focus on applying just that one truth consistently for the next few weeks. Mastering one principle deeply will naturally open the door to applying the next one more easily. It's also important to be patient with yourself during this process. Growth isn't a straight line. You will have days where you feel completely aligned with these truths, and other days where old habits or old fears creep back in. This doesn't mean you failed. It simply means you're human, and growth is a continuous practice, not a one-time achievement. Remember, the people who eventually build the life they want aren't the ones who understood these truths perfectly from day one. They're the ones who kept returning to these principles, even after setbacks, even after doubt, even after temporarily forgetting them. Consistency over time always outperforms perfection in short bursts. As you move forward from here, revisit these truths often. Let them become part of your daily thinking, your decision-making, your inner dialogue. Over time, you won't have to consciously remind yourself of them anymore. They will simply become how you naturally think and live, Let's talk about something important that ties all these truths together: patience combined with consistent action. Because this combination is often what separates people who eventually get everything they want from those who give up just before their breakthrough. In today's fast-paced world, many people expect quick results. They want the clarity, the confidence, the success, and the peace almost immediately after learning about it. But real transformation, the kind that lasts, almost always takes longer than expected. This isn't discouraging, it's simply the natural process of building something meaningful and sustainable, rather than something temporary and fragile. Think about anything valuable in nature. A tree doesn't grow fully in a single season. It takes years of consistent sunlight, water, and patience before it becomes strong enough to withstand storms. Your personal growth works the same way. The clarity you build today, the beliefs you strengthen, the discipline you practice, the resilience you develop, all of it needs time to fully take root and become an unshakable part of who you are. This is why so many people quit right before their breakthrough. They put in effort for a few weeks or months, don't see dramatic results immediately, and conclude that it isn't working. But often, the results were quietly building beneath the surface, just like a seed growing underground before it ever breaks through the soil. Giving up too early means never seeing the results that consistent effort was already creating. Trust the process, even when progress feels invisible. Keep applying these truths, even on days when motivation feels low, even when results seem slow, even when doubt creeps in. Every small action you take today is quietly shaping the person you're becoming and the life you're building, even if you can't see the full picture yet. Remember, the goal isn't to rush toward a finish line and then stop growing. The goal is to build a lifestyle rooted in these truths: clarity, belief, discipline, resilience, energy management, emotional mastery, intentional habits, and inner peace, so that you continue growing, evolving, and thriving for the rest of your life, not just for a temporary season. Let's talk about how these truths work together as a complete system, rather than separate, isolated ideas, because true transformation happens when they all support each other simultaneously. Clarity without belief creates goals you'll never pursue confidently. Belief without discipline creates dreams that never turn into action. Discipline without resilience crumbles the first time you face a setback. Resilience without energy management leads to burnout, even if your mindset remains strong. Energy management without emotional mastery leaves you calm on the outside but still reactive on the inside. Emotional mastery without intentional habits creates temporary peace that fades once daily life resumes as usual. And intentional habits without genuine inner peace create a successful-looking life that still feels empty inside. This is why real transformation requires attention to all these areas together, not perfectly all at once, but as an ongoing, interconnected practice. When one area strengthens, it naturally supports growth in the others. As your belief in yourself grows, discipline becomes easier to maintain. As your emotional mastery improves, your daily habits naturally become more intentional and less reactive. Think of your life like a garden. You wouldn't water only one plant and expect the entire garden to flourish. Each truth we've discussed represents a different plant, needing attention and care simultaneously. Neglecting one area, even while strengthening another, eventually creates imbalance that limits your overall growth and fulfillment. The beautiful part is, you don't need to master everything perfectly before you start seeing real changes in your life. Even small improvements across multiple areas create noticeable shifts in how you feel, how you show up, and what you attract into your life. As these areas continue strengthening together, your entire life naturally begins transforming, not through one dramatic moment, but through the steady, combined effect of small, consistent improvements across every part of who you are. This interconnected approach is exactly why some people seem to naturally attract success, peace, and fulfillment simultaneously, while others struggle even after achieving individual wins in isolated areas. True abundance comes from wholeness, not from perfecting just one piece while neglecting the rest. Let's address something important that many people overlook: the difference between temporary motivation and lasting transformation, because understanding this difference will determine whether these truths create real change in your life or simply become forgotten information. Motivation from a video, a book, or an inspiring conversation can feel powerful in the moment, but it fades quickly once daily life resumes its normal pace. This is completely natural and expected. The real question isn't whether motivation fades, it will. The real question is what you do after that initial inspiration disappears. Lasting transformation happens in the ordinary, unremarkable moments of daily life, not in the exciting, inspired moments. It happens when you choose discipline on a boring Tuesday afternoon, even without motivation pushing you forward. It happens when you manage your emotions calmly during a frustrating conversation, even when no one is watching or praising you for it. It happens when you protect your energy by saying no to something, even when immediate motivation has completely faded. This means the real work begins right after you finish learning these truths, not during the exciting process of hearing them. The people who eventually build the life they want aren't relying on constant motivation to keep them moving forward. They've built systems, habits, and beliefs strong enough to carry them forward even during motivationless days. Here's a helpful practice. Instead of asking, "Do I feel motivated to do this today?" start asking, "Does this align with the person I'm becoming?" This subtle shift moves your actions from being dependent on temporary feelings to being guided by your deeper identity and long-term vision. Over time, this shift creates incredible consistency, regardless of daily emotional fluctuations. Remember, everyone experiences moments of low motivation, even the most successful, peaceful people you admire. The difference is, they've learned not to let temporary lack of motivation control their long-term direction. They keep showing up, keep applying these truths, and trust that consistent action, even without constant enthusiasm, is what ultimately creates lasting results. Let's talk about something deeply important now, self-compassion during this entire journey, because without it, even the best wisdom can turn into unnecessary self-criticism and pressure. As you begin applying these truths, clarity, belief, discipline, resilience, energy protection, emotional mastery, intentional habits, and inner peace, you will inevitably have moments where you fall short. You might lose your temper despite working on emotional mastery. You might skip your disciplined habit despite committing to consistency. You might doubt yourself despite working on building unshakable belief. This isn't failure, this is simply part of being human while growing. Many people unintentionally sabotage their own progress by being excessively harsh with themselves whenever they make a mistake. This self-criticism doesn't create faster growth. It actually creates more stress, more shame, and often leads to giving up entirely. True growth requires treating yourself with the same patience and encouragement you would offer a close friend going through the same journey. When you notice yourself slipping into old patterns, instead of harshly criticizing yourself, try simply acknowledging it without judgment. Say to yourself, "I noticed I reacted emotionally there. Next time I'll pause before responding." This approach keeps you aware and accountable, without the added burden of unnecessary shame weighing you down. Self-compassion doesn't mean lowering your standards or making excuses for avoiding growth. It means recognizing that growth is a process filled with both progress and setbacks, and treating yourself kindly throughout that entire process, rather than only when things go perfectly. This balance, holding high standards while remaining compassionate toward yourself, creates sustainable, long-term growth rather than short bursts of intense effort followed by burnout and self-criticism. The kindest, most successful people you know likely aren't perfect. They've simply learned to keep moving forward with patience, rather than getting stuck in cycles of self-blame. As you continue applying everything you've learned, remember this. Progress, even messy, imperfect progress, is always more valuable than standing still while waiting to feel perfectly ready. Let's bring everything together now, because understanding how these truths connect to your everyday choices is what ultimately determines the life you build moving forward. Every single day presents small decisions that either move you closer to the life you want or quietly keep you stuck exactly where you are. Choosing clarity over confusion. Choosing empowering beliefs over limiting ones. Choosing disciplined action over comfortable avoidance. Choosing to learn from setbacks instead of being defeated by them. Choosing to protect your time and energy instead of carelessly giving it away. Choosing emotional awareness over impulsive reaction. Choosing intentional habits over unconscious routines. Choosing genuine peace over the constant chase for more. None of these choices need to be perfect every single time. But the more consistently you choose in alignment with these truths, the more naturally your entire life begins shifting in a positive direction. Small choices, repeated daily, eventually become the story of your entire life. It's also worth remembering that everyone's timeline looks different. Some people see noticeable changes within weeks, others take months or even years to fully transform their mindset and habits. There's no universal timeline for growth, and comparing your journey to someone else's only creates unnecessary discouragement. Focus entirely on your own progress, your own choices, and your own growth rather than measuring yourself against anyone else's path. As you move forward from here, trust that you now carry knowledge that many people go their entire lives without ever understanding. What matters most now isn't how much information you've gathered, but how consistently you choose to apply it in your everyday life, especially during ordinary, unremarkable moments when no one else is watching. Real transformation isn't loud or dramatic. It happens quietly, through daily choices, repeated consistently over time, until one day you look back and realize you've built an entirely different life than the one you started with, one filled with clarity, confidence, resilience, and genuine peace. As we come to the end of this journey together, I want you to take a moment and truly reflect on everything we've covered. Getting everything you want in life was never about luck, or timing, or waiting for the perfect circumstances. It was always about clarity in what you want, genuine belief in your worth, consistent discipline, even without motivation, resilience through setbacks, protection of your time and energy, mastery over your emotions, intentional daily habits, and above all, genuine inner peace that doesn't depend on external achievement. You now carry these truths with you. What happens next depends entirely on what you choose to do with this understanding. Will you let it fade away like most information does, or will you actually apply it, slowly, consistently, patiently, until it becomes part of who you naturally are? I truly believe that if you take even one of these truths and apply it seriously starting today, your life will begin shifting in ways you couldn't have imagined before watching this. Real change doesn't require perfection, it simply requires consistent, honest effort over time. If this video brought you clarity, if even one part of it deeply resonated with where you are in life right now, don't just let that feeling pass by. Like this video so it reaches someone else who genuinely needs to hear this today. Subscribe to this channel because this is only the beginning of the wisdom we'll continue exploring together. And leave a comment below telling me which of these 8 truths you needed to hear the most right now. I read every single one. This has been Master Shen. Stay clear, stay disciplined, stay at peace, and I'll see you in the next one.